What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here again, and welcome to the preseason power rankings. The season starts today. As of recording this, it's Monday. The season starts Tuesday, and this will be posted on Tuesday before the start of the first game, although the season has technically started with Dallas and Buffalo playing 2 games in the Czech Republic. But power rankings will still go on. These rankings were made based off the division predictions, which were made before the Buffalo New Jersey games in Czechia. So we're going to get right into it. If I can reach the magnet, which I'm realizing now is kind of far down there. But moving down 3 spots from where I had them last year due to no fault really of their own. And it's really unfortunate considering the circumstances. The Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus faces 2 issues. They were the worst team in the East last year. They lost their best player due to a horrible accident. And they're not going to be much better this year. And they're also in a loaded Eastern Conference where 15 of the 16 teams have a reasonable debate for making the playoffs. Columbus is going to be in the dark for a while now. They've got Fantilli, they've got Johnson, they've got younger guys in the lineup. It's a matter of, are those guys going to take them to the next level to get them back into the playoff hunt, back into a playoff spot eventually. Of course, you have Cade and Lindstrom coming up as well. I think it's going to be a dark year for Columbus, and I would not be surprised if they finish last in the league this season. Moving down 8 spots from where I had them last year, and they basically sold off anything that moved. And that would be, if I could once again get the magnet out, because I made it so tight along my desk here, that'll be, there we go, the Calgary Flames. Calgary sold off Mangiapane. They sold off Markstrom. My mind just went blank there. They got a bit younger by adding Kevin Ball in the Markstrom deal, getting picks for that. Would not be surprised if guys like Coleman or Backlund just signed an extension. They're definitely going to try to move Kadri and Hubert out. Will they be able to? Probably not with those deals. Rasmus Anderson may be a guy you end up seeing gone. Mackenzie Weegar, I think, sticks around. But, yeah, this is a team that's going to start focusing on the future now. And I think Craig Conroy was fully prepared for that. See what they can do last season. Not far from a playoff spot, but not close either, around 8 to 10 points away. That's not good enough, and so they're going deep diving, and they're going to try to go for that number 1 pick this year. And moving up 2 spots is the team that had the number 1 pick last year, and that is the San Jose Sharks. You had 2 rookies into the lineup, and Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith will be making their debuts. And then you add Tyler Toffoli, Alex Wenberg, picking up pieces here and there. You pick up Askarov. Will he be the starter? I believe he's injured right now. So it'll probably be Vanacek and Blackwood to start the season. One of those guys gets traded, or both get traded at the deadline if they're playing well. Then all of a sudden you have Askarov playing, which was a brilliant move by San Jose, I thought. Overall, that's a move they can get their goalie of the future, and it's considered probably the top goalie prospect in the league. So overall, for San Jose, pretty good offseason. Moving up 2 spots is a team that, after the preseason, I'm kind of worried for, that they might actually somehow be worse than 52 points. Moving up 2 spots in the power rankings, though, is the Chicago Blackhawks. Added a lot of guys in free agency, Bertuzzi, Teravainen, and NHL 25. Now that I've played, it kind of makes them a playoff team, which is, no. But aside from fictional video games, the Chicago Blackhawks, it's going to be another season. Levshunov, Korchinski, and Nazar are all set to start the season in the minors. Levshunov, of course, was hurt. But I think Rockford's has a chance to be pretty good this year. The question mark for me for this season is going to be Lucas Reichel. Will he get a roster spot? He signed a 2-year extension. It's going to be a competitive race. I mean, you brought in Craig Smith and Pat Maroon to compete for those 4th-line spots. Reichel, ideally, is not a 4th-line player. But the position he's put himself in is that he's either a healthy scratch or it's tough. You don't know where to put him because of what you have. Number 28, moving up 2 spots as well, the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim moves up because everyone around them kind of got worse. Calgary got worse. San Jose is worse. And by process of elimination, that leaves Anaheim as 6th in the Pacific Division. I don't know what to do about Anaheim. They've got young pieces, and the dark years are supposed to be mostly behind them, and yet here we are. They really haven't made any jump in the standings at all. They've gotten worse sometime over the last 2 years, and it's a question of will they ever come out of this downward trend is kind of starting to question. It's kind of like Buffalo in the fact that it doesn't feel like things are going to get better anytime soon, considering the division they're in as well. I mean, every division's tough in the league, but the NHL keeps getting better, and the top-heavy teams keep learning to kind of retool on the fly, which is important. I think we're seeing that with Boston. You've seen that with Tampa Bay now. Like, they left Stamkos, they go get Getzel. Although I don't think it was a good move. I think I would have rather moved off Hedman than Sergachev, but it happens. Moving down 6 spots because of the Tortorella effect, Philadelphia at number 27. They had a good year last year. Philadelphia, John Tortorella bragged this team to wins, and now they have Michkov. They also didn't sign any players in free agency. So they're going into this with the same exact lineup, besides their young guys they've added from the minors or entry-level contracts. Will it make them better? Probably not, considering how I'd say the division has... Once they got it better, I know Washington's gotten better. Oh, excuse me. Washington's gotten better. Pittsburgh really hasn't gotten better. Columbus has not gotten better, not due to a fault of their own. But for Philadelphia, I felt like last year was kind of a lucky year. Things kind of seemed to go their way until the end of the season. So for the Flyers, we'll see if Tortorella can use his coaching and get this team to run through a wall for him. Now, moving up 3 spots is a team that probably shouldn't be 8th in their division, but because how good the Atlantic is, they're that far down, and that's Montreal. Montreal, losing Line A early in the season hurts, especially after just getting him. Losing Reinbacher, guy that was supposed to make his probably debut this season, and now he's once again been sidelined by injuries. They move off Harris to get Line A, and for Line A, he's not in the lineup, so they're already shorthanded there. It's going to be an interesting year for Montreal. This is going to be a year where can guys like Suzuki and Caulfield maintain elite status? Can they get better? I believe Suzuki had around 80 points last season. Can he top that? Can Caulfield get back to where he was when he first came into the league, just scoring goals nonstop? Slavkovsky, can he continue his upward trajectory? And for guys like Doc, can he stay healthy? Can Kerfoot get some good chemistry with him? And when Line A comes back, can he be the player we once knew when he was in his younger years 7 years ago? Moving down 6 spots is a team that really, really needs to just stop trying, but Pittsburgh at number 25. I don't even know what to say about Pittsburgh, to be honest. What can I say that hasn't been said? They haven't gotten any younger. They keep getting older. Carlson, Letang, Crosby, Malkin. It's not bad to keep them around, but at how much money they're being paid? Excuse me. Sorry about that. The yawning started all of a sudden. Pittsburgh is in a state of limbo that it's going to be pretty bad when they finally come out of it, because they're not bad enough to be really bad, and they're not good enough to be good enough to make the playoffs. And that's probably the worst position in hockey to be in, to be close to the playoffs, but not close, not horrible. It's that meandering, I'd say 21st through 25 spots is probably this. It's horrible. Moving down 2 spots purely because of the division, Buffalo. Unfortunately, I don't think Buffalo's streak of playoffs not making are going to come to an end. 14 years it'll be this year if they don't make the playoffs, and I've seen my brother grow up in the time that it's been since the last time Buffalo's made the playoffs. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that the fortunes this team's had. 1 point out of the playoffs 2 years ago, and then they took a step backward, and now they're competing in a division that's way too good for its own good. For Buffalo, best of luck to them. I mean, trading Savoie for McLeod and Tullio is an interesting move. Beck Malenstein for a second-round pick, another interesting move. But we'll see what Buffalo can do this year. Can they prove doubters wrong like me? Moving down 7 spots is St. Louis. St. Louis would have been in the playoffs had they finished in the East last year. But in the West, I can't see them having gotten really better. Bennington had a hell of a year last year, and that's kept them in games a lot of the season. They get Holloway and Broberg, so the team gets younger, which is good. Building around Thomas and Kyrou. The defense needs a bit of work still. I haven't really worked much on that. It's still a pretty veteran defense. We'll see what St. Louis can do. I think it's going to be just because of how much better the Central's gotten, Nashville's gotten better. Minnesota hasn't gotten better, but they're pretty consistent with the way they are. Utah's definitely gotten better, adding Sergachev and that sort of thing. So for St. Louis, we'll see what they can do. Moving up 4 spots, the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa give off Chychrun, they get Jensen and some stuff back. They bring in Allmark as goaltender. One of their biggest problems last season was goaltending. Bringing in Allmark should hopefully solve that for them. Another issue that they're in is they're in the Atlantic. You can only have so many teams make the playoffs. The Atlantic is kind of a good argument for why you need to expand the playoffs. But overall, Ottawa definitely has a good chance of making it this year. Wow. Couldn't stop yawning. I'm not sure why. I slept good today. But for Ottawa, getting into the playoffs is the goal. They haven't been there since they lost in Game 7 in double overtime in the Eastern Conference Final in 2017. I mean, Detroit's been out longer, but for Ottawa, it would be nice for them to get back too. It's been going to be 8 years upcoming. Moving down 1 spot from where they were last season, so not much of a move, but the salary cap still bugs them for at least 1 more year. Minnesota Wild. They looked pretty good against the Hawks in the preseason, I'll say that. But for against other teams in the Central Division, you're still going to have to play. Utah's better. St. Louis is never easy. Chicago is pretty easy. But you got, down here, we'll get to Dallas, we'll get to Nashville, we'll get to Colorado, we get to Winnipeg, Utah. 5 teams right there that I think are better than them. That's kind of the reason why they've kind of fallen this low. Once their cap space, once they get some room, of course Kaprizov's going to get paid because I as much as I would like him to sign in Chicago, really don't think he fits the timeline, and I think Minnesota will re-sign him. So Minnesota at 21, not in the playoffs, but we'll see. Moving down 8 spots because I really don't know what to think about this team anymore. The LA Kings at number 20. They bring in Kemper to play starter. Talbot's gone. Dubois is gone for Kemper. They bring in Warren Fogle. Good move. I don't know how to read this team. This team's either going to come out, they're going to play well, they're going to lose to the Oilers again because I think Oilers win the division, and they're going to get at best they get a wild card. And this team just needs to avoid playing if they can get into the playoffs and avoid playing the Oilers, they might have a better chance than anything else because the Oilers just tear them to shreds every year. And considering the year Kemper had last year, they're counting on a bounce back from him. Kemper can't rebound to his Colorado form or even Arizona form. His best was in Arizona. Then LA might be in trouble, in danger of missing the playoffs, which I do have predicted. Moving down 4 spots is a team that just won't die, and that's the New York Islanders. Seeing Pierre Engvall on waivers with 6 years, or was it 5-6 years left on his deal was that was a doozy yesterday, I will say. Is that Lou Lamoriello admitting he's wrong? Contract was bizarre when he signed it. I don't know, but Islanders are a team that I don't think should be anywhere near a playoff spot. That every year they get close or they get into the playoffs. 1 year since 2019 they've missed, and that was the year they had the 13-game road trip to start, which screwed them. But the Islanders, they have Horvat, they have Barzal, they add Duclair. That's really their only big acquisition. Sorokin and Varlamov's going to carry the team. The defense is going to be pretty good. Offense has gotten better over the years. Overall, it's another team. The middle of the pack are the teams I don't know how to read. St. Louis, Minnesota, LA. Minnesota I kind of do. The Islanders. Another one of those teams that I usually have is Boston. Boston just proves me wrong every year, so I mean the Islanders do too, but they're very always close to falling out. And last year they did not look like a playoff team. Last year they had 94 points and they were 14 points behind Carolina or something like that for second in the division. Overall, it's not a playoff team in my eyes. The Metro is kind of the reason we don't need to expand the playoffs. The Atlantic is the reason we do. 18, moving down one spot is Washington. Don't have them finishing in the playoffs this year, although they'll be very close, I believe. Making some interesting acquisitions. They acquired Dubois, who, if he clicks, that could look like a genius thing by Washington. Bringing in Chikrin, which I thought was a good move at the time, but now more I think about it, don't they kind of have puck movers on that team already? I mean, Sandin's still got to take a next step. Kemper's gone. So now they have Lindgren and Logan Thompson, who they traded for, which I thought was a good move. Young goaltender out of Vegas. Beck Malenstein, they get a second-round pick for him from Buffalo. It's good value. It's going to be a matter of Backstrom's not going to play, Oshie's not going to play. It's going to be a desperation for the younger guys to come up and fit right into this lineup right away. So we'll see how Washington does. Moving up 10 spots, just missing the playoffs at number 17. Although I'm really rooting for them this year. Utah, with an Arizona Coyotes magnet because I don't have a Utah magnet. So, for Utah, I guarantee I'm going to say Arizona at least a couple times this season, but we'll see. Utah, although they were the rumors for Jeremy Swayman, he ends up re-signing in Boston, which I predicted. Adding Sergachev but losing Mosier. If they could have kept Mosier while getting Sergachev, that would have been good. They trade out Connor Geekie to get Sergachev. They get that big puck-moving defenseman on the blue line. If Sergachev could stay healthy because he had a horrible injury last year, that could be huge for this team. Clayton Keller's named captain. Younger guys coming up. They got center depth down the middle, which is something you can't really often say with the Arizona franchise, now Utah. But It's gonna be, especially with the fact that they don't have to worry about where they're gonna play next year. They're a stable franchise in Utah now. This could be a very fun roster to watch this year with the youth, veterans, mixture of leadership. We'll see Keller, we'll see Sergachev, who will definitely be a leader in that locker room, and we'll see if Engram can replicate what he did last year. Vemelka didn't play horribly last year, but he could use a bounce back in a sort of way. Not horribly. It was not awful, but wasn't great. So Utah's going to be a very fun team to watch, I believe. Moving down 11 spots in a team that, again, I don't know how they're making the playoffs, but I have them in because reasons. Winnipeg. How they had 52 wins last year is beyond me. Well, I could tell you why. Connor Hellebuck single-handedly got them there. That by when the playoffs came around, he was completely out of gas. And the way they were eliminated kind of just, they didn't deserve to be there type stuff. I don't really remember who they acquired, if anyone. Free agency was so long ago now. I mean, they lost Monahan, they lost Foley. They were both rentals they acquired for the playoff push and did not work out really in the playoffs. Scheifele and Hellebuck, those are the main guys. Ehlers, who was reportedly to be shopping for, but hasn't been moved. Kyle Connor still going to be Kyle Connor. Josh Morrissey on the back end. Can guys like Logan Stanley, I think is going to be like, can they finally move on to bigger roles in the lineup? Cole Perfetti is going to be a guy to watch. Colby Barlow didn't make the team, but I thought he might get a chance, but we'll see. Brad Lambert, that's another guy. Will Brad Lambert make his debut this season or near the end, or I don't know. 15. Moving up 9 spots, I have Seattle. And the reason is Seattle has been hella inconsistent since the start of their tenure. 60 points year 1, 100 points year 2, 80 points year 3. I think we're somewhere in the middle of the 80 to 100 point range. They did have some. They've had years where there's been the year where the offense was all cylinders go, and the defense was horrible in the goaltending. There was the year last year that defense and goaltending were actually pretty good, and the offense just disappeared. Then he had the first year where nothing worked. We don't know what we're going to get with this team. I could see them being a wild card, and adding Brandon Montour on the back end I think is a good move. Kind of replaces Justin Schultz as that puck-moving defenseman, who is definitely an upgrade. Montour is younger. And Shane Wright, he's going to be a big factor, I think. You'll have Wright, you'll have Cartier, guys who have been far in with Coachella Valley and the minors. Can they come up and bring that experience that they've experienced down there? Can they applicate it to the NHL level? Can they perform with Matty Beniers as those young guys on that team that are the future of this team, essentially. Moving down one spot, I have Tampa. Getzel and Stamkos, I kind of see that as a wash. Kind of the same player, just at different points of their career. Getzel was looking for his last big contract, while Stamkos is a veteran trying to. He got paid a lot to go to Nashville, and more than everyone probably expected. But he sees a chance to win there, I assume, because he wants to get another crack at it. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. And, of course, we'll talk about Nashville later. But Tampa Bay, then, trading out Sergachev, that was an interesting move, but Mosier is a good defenseman. I think he'll fit right into the Tampa lineup. Getting Connor Geekie gets that team even younger if he makes his debut. I don't think so. Maybe later in the season as well. And McDonough. Bringing back McDonough, I thought was an interesting move. Vasilevsky's going to be Vasilevsky, although he did have a down year by his standards. Kucherov's going to be Kucherov. Hedman's going to be Hedman. Tampa's Tampa. Moving up 5 spots, you're getting a full season of Patrick Kane. Justin Hull is on waivers, as that contract should have never been signed. Cam Talbot's now in net. You kind of have Talbot, you have Lyon, and you have Husso. Maybe you run with 3. Maybe Lyon's the one that odd man out that goes down to the minors. But you have goaltender depth there, Detroit. The defense with Jeff Petrie, Ben Sherratt, definitely some interesting names on that blue line. But the forward core is, I think, what we're going to watch. Raymond, Seider, Berggren, all RFAs have all been signed. Raymond and Seider to big boy contracts. Can those guys take their next step? Seider to become closer to a Norris-winning defenseman, although he probably doesn't get top 10 in Norris voting because there's so many good defensemen in the league. Raymond, does he become that superstar forward? Possibly near 90-point range. I would say that's what they're looking for out of Raymond this year. There's some good here. You get Kane DeBrincat still around. Tarasenko's been added. The forward core is going to look good. It's a question of can the defense hold up and could the goaltending hold up, because that's probably been the biggest problem in Detroit recently. Number 12, moving up 2 spots, is Vegas, considering they lost. That's surprising. It shows how much belief I have in Vegas. Their defense still very solid. Martinez is gone, but still a very solid D-core in Vegas. And goaltending, you trade out Logan Thompson, but now you have Aiden Hill, Ilya Samsonov as your tandem. And even as the third goaltender, you're bringing Akira Schmid from New Jersey. You trade out Paul Cotter, you bring out Alex Holtz, who's kind of a reclamation project. Can you get what his promise was when he was drafted going? If he can, then he could be a very good player in this Vegas lineup. Victor Olofsson brought in, trying to get him back to near 30-goal form than where he was in the earlier years in Buffalo. Losing Marchessault also hurts up front. The depth on this team, the center depth is really good. The wings are going to look a bit shorter, so we'll see if they have younger guys from Henderson step in, and can they fit in with this team right away. Hannafin being brought in kind of in replace of Martinez also. Number 11. 4 spots down. Still not going to fall off because they never do. The Boston Bruins are an anomaly. They're a team that hasn't been bad since the mid-2000s. I mean, Pittsburgh now you can consider as kind of bad. Washington, they're not bad, they're not good either. But Boston really hasn't been bad since 2006. They missed the playoffs that year, but and if you want to go even farther back than that, when they got the first overall pick in the late 90s, that when they got Joe Thornton, Boston doesn't really have a track record of being a horrible team overall. And bringing in Lindholm, can he be that number 1 center that he was in Calgary? Can he score 40 goals? Well, he doesn't need to score 40 goals. Pasta's going to be with him. Pasta just needs to score 60, and Lindholm can get up 100 assists if he wants. And bringing in Zadorov, that's going to be a very crucial part of that team going forward. He needs to live up to that contract if Boston wants any hope. Other than that, Don Sweeney, considering how the Swayman situation went, of course bringing back Jeremy Swayman, Don Sweeney might be a little bit on thinner ice considering how the whole situation went down. He does get Swayman signed, which does give him some relief, but that could have been a very messy situation that could have cost him his job had Swayman not signed. Boston, though, consistent playoff team, probably beats Toronto again. Down 2 spots, Colorado at number 10. Colorado, Landeskog said he might come back this year, and it's been 2 years now. It's been... The way they got beat by Dallas kind of tells me that their time at the top is kind of slowly fading. Yes, they kind of beat Winnipeg, but Winnipeg was kind of not supposed to be there to begin with. Dallas looked like the complete team. Colorado looks like they're starting to... They've still got good defense. Georgiev and net was questionable at times, but goaltending is overall question mark. He could have a really good year behind some really good defense. The forward core, you got McKinnon, you got Rantanen, even Makar on the defense, Devin Taves that help out on the offense. Colorado might be a team that looks to get younger. They traded Bowen Byram for Casey Middlestat last year to try to get a younger center. Colorado might be a team that seeks to get younger, I think, soon. They're not super old, but they're also... I don't know. Something about them just doesn't scream contender anymore to me. Number 9, moving up one spot. Toronto, it's one of those feelings in the regular season they'll do well, in the playoffs they'll bust. It's going to be a big year for Toronto, considering how last year went, considering how none of the core four have been moved somehow still. It's amazing how we've all been expecting it. It just never happens. Marner's up at the end of this year. Tavares is up at the end of this year. Marner's going to get paid, whether that be by Toronto or by whomever. Excuse me. Tavares is going to take a lot less than $11 million. I could see him being team friendly and sticking around for $5 million, honestly. Toronto, every year's a big year for Toronto. And they kind of the prime years of these guys' careers. Tavares was still in his 20s when he signed that contract. Matthews, Nylander, and Marner are not getting younger. I mean, by the time Taves, Kane were around, that was their third season in the NHL that they won that first cup. Keith was in his 20s. Sharp was in his late 20s. Hossa, I think, was still in his late 20s. Seabrook was in his... All these guys were in their 20s. Of course, if you bring in Morgan Riley, that's another guy that's been there a while now, who's been there almost 13 years in the organization since he was a 2012 draft pick. Question marks are always going to be around Toronto. What they do every year, people say if they could do this, and it somehow always ends up the same. One series win in the past, it's going to be 8 years if they don't win anything this year. There could be big changes coming. I mean, Matthews and Nylander are stuck there. There's no doubt about that. Marner would be the guy to go. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Tavares doesn't have a good year, that they've said, okay, we bring you back either a very little deal, or he's not going to come back at all. Something that I would not be surprised to see. Definitely would free up some cap space for them. Moving down 5 spots is Carolina. Carolina lost a lot in the offseason. They lost Teravainen and they lost Pesce. Ronta's now gone, although they have goaltending, so that's fine. Anderson and Kochenkov should be more than enough. Carolina, while they're weaker, they're still going to be atop of the Metro Division. They're still a good enough team, and they have good enough coaching to be at the top of the Metro Division. That's why they're in the top 8, even though I see them 3rd in the Metro. Moving up 4 spots, Nashville. Stamkos, Marchessault, Pesce, Wedgwood. Adding those 4 guys alone, Wedgwood is the backup goaltender, although there was nothing wrong with Lankinen. This team could be very fun to watch in Nashville. Having Forsberg and Stamkos on the same team, adding Marchessault, there's going to be a ton of goal-scoring ability here. You already have Nyquist, you have Forsberg, you have who are their centers? Tommy Novak plays second-line center? ? Who was their first-line center? Why am I blanking? It's Forsberg, Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly. That's who it is. Very more veteran up front. If this is the team that wins a Stanley Cup, it's a fun team. Because you have O'Reilly, you have Stamkos, you have Marchessault, guys who have been there, done that. Philip Forsberg's a superstar forward. Nyquist has had a resurgence in Nashville. Tommy Novak's a young center who has a chance to prove himself here, playing between probably Stamkos and Marchessault. Saros and net, they move off Askarov and they get some stuff back. Overall, that's a decent deal. So they got Enstrom and they also got a first-round pick. So Nashville's still getting younger while also getting older. Nashville, I can see, is kind of doing what Dallas is doing. Just the question is Nashville? Nashville's not really in between eras. Their eras are probably going to be ending when the new one's beginning. So for Nashville, they're building for the future while also building for the present. Good on Barry Trotz, and is going into his second year as general manager. For a team that wasn't supposed to make the playoffs last year, good work. In the same spot as where they ended last year, Vancouver. They lose Zadorov, they lose Lindholm, they lose... who else they lose? I mean, a bit of their back end's gone. They bring in DeBrusk. Boston and Vancouver kind of switch players. They bring in DeBrusk, Heinen, and Forbort. Boston takes Zadorov and Lindholm. Kind of a trade between those two teams. Vancouver's going to be good. I think they'll be good. Vancouver finally lived up to expectations last year of what I've had for them for probably 4 years previous to that. So for Vancouver, can they stay in that playoffs now? Can they be a consistent playoff team that they should have been for years now? Quinn Hughes is going to be one of the Norris best defensemen in the league last year. You have Pettersson, you have Miller, you have Besser. Up front, you're still going to be a very dangerous team. The back end's a little weaker. Maybe that's something you look to do at the deadline. Net, can Demko get healthy for the season? Can Shelovs get healthy for the season? Can Lankinen hold down the fort while those two are still trying to get healthy? Still, Shelovs is closer than Demko, I think. Up 20 spots from last year, and they should not have been as bad as last year. This is a team that went through the injuries to Hellenbach last year. Number 5, we have New Jersey. I picked New Jersey to go high last year. I'm pretty sure I had them second in my power rankings before the season. New Jersey addressed, and they all, judging by the start they're off to, 2-0 start. Markstrom and Allen look fantastic. The team looks fantastic. Seamus Casey comes in and looks great. Hughes, Meyer, Heischer, and Bratt up front. Not to mention you have Mercer. You have, who is the other guy that they have up front? It's Mercer, mine's blanking, but a third line of Haula, Tatar, and insert the name of the third line center here. Oh, Nason, of course, that's why. In the fourth line, you had Paul Cotter, who's now leading the league in goals with 2 in 2 games. Nathan Bastian as your kind of enforcer depth. You have Ian McDermott as well to enforce against Matt Rempe, which is the sole reason he's there. This team looks complete. Siegenthaler or Hamilton. You have Nemec, Casey, and Hughes, 3 very young defensemen on the blue line as well. Hughes isn't playing. You brought in Brendan Dillon. You brought in Brent Pesce. The future is very bright in New Jersey. This is a team I can definitely say is going to win a Stanley Cup probably in the next 5 years. I think so easily. In the same spot as where they were last year at the start of the season, we have the defending Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers. They lose Montour. They signed Reinhart. The team, other than that, is pretty much the same, to be honest. Spencer Knight is out of the Players' Assistance Program. Is probably going to play backup. That leaves Stolars, who went to Toronto. That's another discussion about Toronto. Can Wall and Stolars be the effective 1A, 1B tandem? But it's Bobrovsky's net. Bobrovsky's getting older. He's won a cup now. He's proven himself. Knight's got the next guy. If Knight can be the way he was when he first debuted in the NHL, fantastic for Florida. Of course, they have Chris Drieger back as a third goaltender. Florida's going to be in good shape to make another run for a repeat. Nothing much else to say there. Down 2 spots, we have the President's Trophy winners from last year in the New York Rangers. Not much changed for the Rangers, if I can remember correctly. Jack Roslovic's gone. He went to Carolina. Blake Wheeler, I'm not sure if he's signed, if anything. I don't know. The Rangers, if they're the same team as last year, then they have a good chance of finishing top of the standings again, top of their division. Their goal is the Stanley Cup and nothing else. Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, dynamic up front. Kakko needs to finally take that next step. He just hasn't. Lafreniere, again, he took that next step last year. Can he keep increasing on it? Can he be that first overall pick forward that we were featured to? And she's shown flashes of brilliance. The Rangers are a good team. I mean, that's obvious. But good overall. Good. In the same spot as where I had them last year at the start of the season, we have Dallas. Or at the start, I keep saying start of last season, end of last season. Dallas. Dallas, most complete team because they are in between eras. Pavelski's gone. That gives Stankoven permanent residency in the lineup. You also have Maverick Bourque coming up. And this is the brilliance of what Dallas has done. They have young guys still coming up while they still have their old veteran core from the previous era. And it's an in-between eras. You got guys like Ben, Sagan. Well, Klingberg's gone now, but Klingberg was in that previous era. He was there for a few years. And then you have, on the other side, Robertson, Hintz, Heiskanen. Harley is even part of that now. Thomas Harley looks like a brilliant defenseman coming in. Maverick Bourque, Logan Stankoven. I feel like there was another guy I had in mind. But looking really good for just building up year by year. You keep getting those hits in the draft. Of course, you have Ottinger in net. Wedgwood's gone, so the backup goaltender is now DeSmith, I believe. So, I mean, Wedgwood provides stable backup when Ottinger didn't have to play. DeSmith had a bit of a shaky season. Overall, he held down the fort in Vancouver. Can he replicate that performance in Dallas? And number one, who else can I put but the team that I thought probably should have won the Stanley Cup, considering they came back from 3 games to none down. They have the two best players in the world. And they signed that second best player in the world to a pretty hefty sum. And yes, Stan Bowman's their general manager. But I have full confidence in the Edmonton Oilers this season. A couple years ago, I predicted Edmonton to win the President's Trophy. I was wrong that year. I predicted them to go to the final 2 years ago. I was wrong. They went last year. I'm going to predict them to do it this year. I think this is going to be the year where I say, I think this has to be the year Edmonton does it. For one, salary cap reasons. For two, there's never going to be a better chance to do it than this year. You still have McDavid signed at only 12 and a half. Draisaitl's going to be making 14 next one. Bouchard needs to be paid next season. Of course, you'd like to get rid of that Nurse contract. If Nurse can play to that contract that he was given, Bouchard, all cylinders go. If this team can be they lose Fogle, all cylinders go. They move off CC. They lose Holloway and Broberg as well. This team has lost some pieces, but it's nothing that I don't think can be Darnay. Nothing that can't be. They're a good enough team that they got to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. I'm having trouble finding reasoning, but my reasoning is the fact that they pushed Florida to Game 7. They came back from 3 games to none down. They were down against Vancouver as well. They beat Dallas, who's the top seed. They beat LA again. They came back from bottom of the league at the start of the season, and they came through. Evander Kane starting the season on LTIR, so we'll see if when he comes back, will he jump right back into the lineup. Oilers have a big year this year, and they're going to be my number one team to go for it. And while they might not win the President's Trophy, I still see them probably being my favorites for the Cup as of right now. It's McDavid's revenge tour type stuff. I want to thank you all so much for watching the preseason power rankings. I've been going on for almost 40 minutes now, and that's been a busy morning for me. So I want to thank you all so much for watching once again. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Who do you think is going to finish first? What do you think of the power rankings? What are your power rankings? Who do you have finishing first? Who do you have finishing last? Who do you have winning the Stanley Cup this year? Leave down below, and I'll be very interested to read those comments. Once again, thank you for watching, and have a good one.